Okay. This is going to be a talk about the somatic senses. Okay, so when you think about somatic senses, as I said earlier, think about things that are close to the surface or in muscle areas. So you can see that where we find somatic senses are in the skin, the mucous membranes, muscles, tendons, and joints. So these are all close to the surface. Some of the places that have somatic senses, there might be many sensors. Others, you might only have a few sensors in a big area. Where we have the most somatic senses are in our tongue and our lips and our fingertips. Think about how babies, whenever they're exploring their environment, a lot of times put things in their mouth, and how if we have something wrong with a tooth or we have something wrong with gums or we get something stuck, how those touch receptors sort of like make us crazy. That's because there's so many touch receptors in those areas. So let's talk about some of the touch receptors. Okay, touch receptors are in the skin or the mucous membranes. If you look at this picture right here, you can see that this is the skin itself, and there are many receptors in there. Here is the epidermis. Remember that from the chapter on the integumentary system. Here's the dermis, and here's the subcutaneous layer. Like I said, here we can have some free nerve endings between the dermis and the epidermis, and this is pain receptors. Then we have these over here, the corpuscles. Type 1, the corpuscles of touch, or the Mischner's corpuscles. Type 2, root hair plexuses, and laminated or Pacinian corpuscles. We're going to talk about all of those. But if you look, some of them have specialized receptors like the laminated or the Ruffini's corpuscles right there, and some of them are free nerve endings just like the root hair plexuses. So here is the corpuscles of touch, the Mischner's, okay? They rapidly adapt. That means that they do not detect sensation for very long. The brain kind of cancels it out after it's been in place for a while. It's in the dermal papillae of hairless skin, hands, eyelids, tips of tongue, soles of feet, and the sex organs, and it detects low pitch vibration and pressure. If you look over here at the picture again, you can see that this is Mischner's corpuscles right there. Specialized receptors right underneath that dermis. Okay, when you think about low pitch vibration, kind of think of how bass sounds whenever it's a car next to you and they have it and you kind of can feel it in the soles of your feet or in the palms of your hand. That is that low pitch vibration sensation coming from the Mischner's corpuscles. Root hair plexuses are also rapidly adapting. Those are wrapped around the base of the hair follicles and they detect movement. It's really kind of interesting. Like if you think about, some of you girls can relate to this. When you pull your hair back in a ponytail, at first you notice it, and then because it's rapidly adapting, you don't notice that your hair is in a ponytail. It's because of the movement of the root hair plexus itself. But when you take that ponytail down and the root hair plexuses go in the opposite direction, sometimes it doesn't feel very pleasant. It has a painful type of feel to it for a second. That's because they're moving again and it detects hair movement. Also, think about when you run your hands through your hair, that is because you're stimulating the root hair plexuses, not the hair itself. If you look over at this picture right here, it's wrapped around that hair follicle, and that's how we actually tell movement. And then we have type 1 cutaneous mechanoreceptors. Remember, when mechanoreceptors move and you detect sensation, and these are the Merkel disc. They are slow adapting. The nerve endings contact the Merkel cells, fingertips, hands, lips, genitalia, and also detect pressure. If you look at this right here, where you see the Merkel disc, it's near the surface right in here again. And remember, it's slow adapting. Think of locations that happen and you can feel your clothes. Your feels don't clothes don't feel comfortable. They're always rubbing against something. That is because it might be hitting against a Merkel disc or the type 1 cutaneous mechanoreceptor. Okay, I'm only going to do one more, and that's the type 2 cutaneous mechanoreceptors, which is Ruffini. It's again slow adapting. Deep in the dermis, ligaments and tendons, hands and soles of feet, sensitive to stretching. Have you ever stretched out your foot or done, like stretching out the back of your calf or the back of your leg and thought, ooh, I better stop that because I can feel it pulling? That's type 2 mechanoreceptor, the Ruffini. Okay, so let's look at that and see what it looks like. Oh, okay. So this is Ruffini's right here. Okay, again, you can see that. The laminated or Precinian we're going to talk about in just a second, but these are where where they're located within those somatic receptors. That's all I'm going to talk about now. Next time I'm going to talk about these other somatic sensations. Remember, the ones we just finished talking about are only the tactile sensations of touch. Only touch were these four. Remember, there's two rapidly adapting. The type 1 and type 2 are slow adapting. Therefore, you feel the sensation for a longer period of time. Okay, bye. Bye, guys. Talk to you later.